Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogues, instant reaction, all emotion, and let's talk about it. We are a minute, maybe 90 seconds away from Inter Miami's 4-1 victory over the Chicago Fire at Soldier Field. It was easy, convincing, some cherries to put on top of a beautiful Sunday. How, my dear co-host Saur, are you feeling after that game?
Pretty chill, man. That was a really lovely, nice little game. I was so close to getting my prediction right for the first time in a while. The 3-1 would have been perfect, but hey, 4-1's even better. And I thought it was a very professional performance. Well done from all the players. Some players looked absolutely fantastic. Took us a bit of time to get going, but got the job done towards the end. And Luis Suarez, man, he's just trotting along on that goal scoring spree, isn't he?
Goal scoring spree, yes. And he's also put himself in the MVP race. Again, I know that he was there early in the season, but I think based on him leaving for Copa America and, some really incredible performances from Lucho Acosta and Cucho Hernandez and, guys across the league, he sort of faded away from the headlines of that discussion. And here he is, 3 or 4 games back since he came back from the Copa America as in terms of MLS games. And he's right back in the picture. 2 more goals tonight. Robert Taylor gets on the score sheet. We get a very lucky goal in the first half that I think kicked off Inter Miami's game, because for the first few minutes, they were struggling. Chicago really held the momentum in the first 5 to 10 minutes. And then Inter Miami captured it. They started hitting on the break. They created some opportunities. They get the lucky goal where it's a Suarez shot that is saved by Chris Brady, but it deflects off Zichos and just heads right back in. I'm sure that everyone has a favorite defender in the world that they feel like is always just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And that kind of would bring back memories of, for me, it's Harry Maguire, because that just felt so fitting for a player like that we love to make fun of. But
hey,
we take that. Yeah, we take that into halftime, where it was solid. I think Inter Miami was the better team. We probably deserved a lead at halftime, but we really turn it on the second half, score right away, get another goal later, both from Suarez, and then in the 93rd minute, we cap it off with that 4th goal. They do get one back late in the 82nd minute-ish, but ultimately Inter Miami pulls off a 4-1 win on the road and continues their march towards the supporter shield. What do you want to talk about first?
Robert Taylor got a goal. Can we just talk about that for a second?
Yeah,
I feel like I wish he had come in earlier. I'm so glad that he finally got a goal. Much deserved. He is the exact definition of what we were talking about. Bring him on at the right time so that then he can be the one making those runs in behind. And that's exactly what happened. Chicago was trying to push up, get that second goal, get the game even closer, and we hit them on the break. The last couple of games, Luis Suarez was there up top, didn't have any runners in behind him. This time, it was exactly how it would have played out if Robert Taylor was on that pitch. I'm glad he got that goal. I think he deserves a little bit more minutes moving forward. So can't wait for him to, kick on from here.
Yeah, he gets his ankle rolled up on at the end, but he seemed to be okay, so that was good. Campana with the selfless assist. He could have gone for goal there, but ultimately those guys came on in the 80th and 88th minute. They aren't really the story of the game, and we can talk about them more tomorrow. But the story of this game was Inter Miami being very effective in transition, winning the ball over, and just attacking on, all out attack. And it was very effective. Let's get to the chat. Rohan says, Suarez at 16 goals. Wish Miami could win some pens. Have we ever gotten a penalty this year? At least in the last
we've got
4
a couple, but it doesn't seem that it doesn't seem to happen that often.
It doesn't seem to happen that often, and I don't know. I don't think we've had a pen since Messi left. I'll be honest.
Also, that first goal by Suarez, by the way, not the own goal, the second goal that we scored, I thought Chris Brady could have done much better than that. That I'm not sure that should have gone in or not. That felt really soft.
Coming right off of after the first goal, right off of halftime, I don't think Chicago was ready for this game.
Yeah, no.
And it was, it's tough. Even the third goal right off a set piece, they just didn't feel like they were locked in, locked on, and Inter Miami took advantage, and that's what you love to see for a team that is one of the best teams. There was a comment during the broadcast where the announcer was talking about Miami. He goes, "There's us, and then there's the rest of you guys." And it did feel something like that, where I didn't think Inter Miami played incredible. I didn't think Inter Miami had any performances that were 10 out of 10s. I don't think Diego Gomez had his best performance. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't like out of this world. And we can come back to this in a second. But same thing with Yannick Bright, same thing with Cello, Ian Frey, Julian Gressel, Suarez. Like they were all just good, solid performances, and then we just outclassed the other team and kind of rode our way to a 4-1 victory. Let's talk about Diego Gomez. How you feeling?
First, I wanna come back to your comment. So the word I heard during the commentary was professional, and that's exactly how I will define this entire game. Inter Miami did a very professional job. Chicago came out looking good. They had a few really good patterns of play that they used against us at the start. We found it difficult to play through the midfield, and that was, I think, by virtue of them overloading the midfield and being very compact. And they had some big bodies in there, and we found it difficult to play out. But there were a few instances where our passing looked really good and slick. And I saw Yannick Bright, even though he had a few giveaways, he was looking at passes that I've not necessarily seen him look at. And he had some really good passing range this game, I thought. Redondo looked really sharp in some of the passing play that he was making. But however, it didn't make its way through to the final third, at least in the first 10, 15 minutes. Once we got into the rhythm, once we started creating more, making more movements, Jordi Alba, I thought, had a really good first half. We just overpowered them with our quality. And I agree with you, not a lot of players had their perfect performance, but I thought Sergio Busquets was phenomenal in this game, by the way. I thought he was above and beyond any other player on the pitch. I would have given him my man of the match if Suarez hadn't scored 2 goals. Honestly, I thought he had a brilliant game.
Yeah, I agree. And I've been telling you, man, he's a center back. We didn't realize he was a center back.
Beautiful game. Like, there were instances where the Chicago Fire players like Selassie, I thought he would absolutely rinse Sergio Busquets. And twice or thrice, he just had his number. He was able to get in the position, make sure that he wasn't beaten. His composure on the ball, his passing, his playing out from the back just helped the team so much. And I thought those are the kind of performances that I love, that are understated, not as outright phenomenal, but you just love to watch them control the game silently. And I feel like Sergio Busquets has been doing that a lot. This game, it was so evident. Also, David Martinez had a really good game, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Those two, I've been telling you, man, for weeks now, those two on the back line, they're so calm and composed and comfortable on the ball, and they can spray it around. And you just feel good when the ball's at their feet or heading towards them, because you know you're not putting yourself in a dangerous situation. And you can't always say that about Aviles or Christoph or Sailor or Nico Frede or anyone like that. And so those two together, man, that is something.
And we looked really, really composed in the back line. I think the stability started from the back line. Because of that, our front line was able to do what they wanted to do. So the structure was really well done.
You mentioned that we didn't play through the middle that well. And listen, that's by design, based on the personnel we put out there and the way we obviously wanted to play through the outside channels with Cello and Jordi Alba playing high at the pitch. We obviously wanted to play in transition, which we did. I didn't feel like there was a point where we really sat on the ball and just controlled the game and controlled possession. I know that we were in control of the game in terms of goal scoring opportunities and goal threat and obviously goals, but it didn't ever feel like we were just suffocating the game away. And it didn't make it close at the end, but they did score a goal at the end. And all of a sudden, Tata's all frustrated and angry, but it never felt in that entire game like we were going to be able to do that in the last 90 minutes. I want to get back to the chat. Anton says, really happy for Taylor to get a goal tonight. Good for his confidence. That is goal contribution number 10 for him this season. I know he hasn't had the shining role that he had last season for this team, but 10 goal contributions for a player that hasn't played as much as he probably would have expected to, or we would have expected him to, is still, a nice season, getting into double digits.
Yeah, and I think he needs to be playing a little bit more. Tata Martino needs to do away with his obsession of sending on players at the 85th minute, man. I don't know what minute he came on in today, but I felt this game could have done with subs much earlier. Thank God he started to use most of his subs. I'm pretty sure he's gotten a beat down from Chris Henderson after that game against Columbus, where he didn't make any subs. And it feels like he's using his subs a lot more. But Robert Taylor is the kind of player that needs to come on a little bit earlier to try and affect the game more. And his quality is such that he needs to get into the rhythm. And once he does, he'll be able to make a difference. So I'm glad he got his goal today. And I can't wait for him to get more opportunities going forward because, yeah, he's been going through a bit of a patch, but come on.
Yeah, and it wasn't like he was awful. He just didn't have a
I just think Gomez is better than him right now. And deservedly so. Gomez needs to start over him in that left wing spot. But,
Yeah, but, don't forget, Gomez earned a move to the Premier League because of what he was as a box-to-box midfielder. And he was the best box-to-box midfielder in the MLS. And so, I mean, you can have Gomez in the midfield and Robert Taylor play as a left winger, and they can coexist together on the field.
Yeah.
But clearly not with what Tata wants to do. Excuse me. Thank you. Tata should really give Taylor more minutes, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just like you said, I think today he earned himself more of an opportunity. We haven't seen him at all. He came in the 91st minute today, which is 90th minute, which is like, you can't have that.
You know what the funniest thing is? Tata wants to play on the counter, and he doesn't play the player that is most suited to that style.
I know. He should have come on in the 80th minute when Campana came on. We were winning 3-0 at that point. Okay. Suarez scores 2.5 goals in this game from Gel. Yeah. Suarez he's awesome, man. He just scores goals.
He's on
2 more today.
Real good form. Like his movement and stuff looks really, really good. So
16 goals, 16 goals on the season in the MLS. That is tied for second. He is 1 goal behind Chicho Arango and 1 goal behind Christian Benteke from DC United. And he's played, 3, 4, 5 less games than the guys he's with. Denny Bouanga tied with Suarez on 16 goals. But considering the form he's in, considering that he plays, I think, even better when Messi's there to combine with him and set him up for more goals, I think that Luis Suarez is the Golden Boot front runner, or at least in terms of the betting favorite, I think is right there, man. And if you're going to win the Golden Boot, you also can win the MVP. I think that is right there for him. And yeah, Josue says Suarez for the Golden Boot. Ash says, fun game. We had a pen against Tigres, I think. Did we have a penalty against Tigres?
I'm not too sure. I don't even remember.
Bad news is both Cincy and Columbus get their 3 points. Yeah, but listen, they are 8 points and 10 points behind us, and the number of games they have to catch up is shrinking quickly. I think Cincinnati's it's already over for them. I think Columbus is probably going to have to be perfect the rest of the way if they're going to catch up, because just thinking about Inter Miami's schedule, aside from that game against the Columbus Crew, you're going to feel like Inter Miami's got a great chance to win 3 points, get 3 points in every single game remaining.
You know what the best part about this is? We don't really have to worry about what Columbus and Cincy do at this point.
Yeah.
We just need to worry about what Inter Miami does. I've been in situations where I'm like, I want to see how the other team is doing to understand where my team is going to finish and all that. And it just feels great to be in control of your own destiny at the end of the day, because if we win all our games from here on, even if we drop points in one of the games, which could be Columbus, we still are in pole position to finish top. So I think I think it's all in our own hands, and that's how it should be.
And Inter Miami doesn't even have to be perfect at this point. It can drop a game or two and still, win, not like they can win the points record if they.
I'd always rather be the one leading than being the chaser, and I'm glad Inter Miami is leading the way.
NYC has to have an agenda for throwing games against Columbus every time they play. That game was 2-1 the last time I checked in the second half, and somehow it ended 4-2, and NYCFC got a red card. So I don't know what happened there, but will be interesting to check it out. Keeping an eye on the LA teams tonight and tomorrow night. Bigger supporter shield threat than the Ohio teams. I think that's probably true. I think LAFC is probably the second most likely team to win the supporter shield behind Inter Miami. The Galaxy, especially if they get Marco Royce going, we'll see. But I think the LAFC is probably the biggest threat. Martinez from Skrilla says, Martinez was the missing piece. He's so good. Yeah, if we could have gotten another center back like Martinez to be his partner, oh man,
He was
dude.
so good this game, man. I
was.
texted you on the side as well, and I was like, Martinez looks so good this game. And it wasn't even like he was doing much. He was just in the right positions, making the right tackles, and just he knows when to be aggressive. He knows when to sit back a little bit. I think there was an instant where Chicago could have broken on the counter attack, and Martinez was just there and swept it up immediately. And I was like, yeah, that's the one that you were missing.
Yeah, and he's a great defender. He's got the athleticism. He's got all the physical tools, and he's also really good in possession and can spray the ball around. So I agree with you, man. He's an ideal center back at this level. And I think Inter Miami is going to be keeping him for a while as long as he can stay healthy. That Gomez dummy to Suarez goal, that's the third goal, right? That was beautiful. Off a set piece. They were not ready for it. And Inter Miami has been so good at taking advantage of teams when they aren't quite mentally locked in, off of set pieces, off of quick turnovers, things like that. Bizrat says, solid performance by Miami, and Gomez was phenomenal. We didn't really talk about Gomez. I laid it up for you, but we kind of got to a different topic. But Gomez, I thought, was really good in this game, man. I mean, it goes without saying, but he is so talented, and we really are lucky to keep him. And I thought it was another really good performance. I know you mentioned Busquets. We talked about Suarez as man of the match because of the goals, but I thought Gomez individually over 80 minutes was just as good as those two. I guess 90 minutes because he came off for Robert Taylor. So really, really good performance from Gomez. Just a great game, to be honest. Everyone put in a shift from Peaches. I agree 100%. And just, as you mentioned, professional. Everyone came and then they just outclassed the other team, which is what you want to see when you go up against a team like this, especially on the road.
Yeah, quality is all that matters in these games, and you got to do a good job of it, because we talked about this. Chicago could have easily nicked a goal and made a game out of this, and I'm just glad we were 3-0 up when they actually scored one goal and sort of got back into the game, by which point it was really late for them. But overall, I think everyone did their job really well, and that's what matters.
Daniel says, I really enjoyed today's match. Can't wait for Messi's return. It's going to be fire. I know, we're 2 weeks away. And we're getting Messi back, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And then it's like, it's go time, right? Messi comes back. It's the final 7 games and 6 games, 7 games. Then you get into the playoffs hoping or working towards building towards a great form so that you can steamroll through the playoffs. That's the plan. And everything's going that way right now. I also thought it was interesting that as soon as we looked like we were about to get fully healthy, we got a few injuries over the last couple of days. But fortunately, it was injuries to, Ciro Santos and Leo Alfonso, guys that are not crucial to our title-winning hopes. But we wish those guys the best of luck, and hopefully they get back quickly. Busquets played a great game from Tottenham. Yeah, 100%, man. You said it perfectly. I agree with you. I think over 90 minutes, he was phenomenal. I thought all 3 center backs were really good. Ian Frey, the most shaky, but a good performance from him.
I don't think he had a bad game. There were a couple of instances.
Only in comparison to the other 2 center backs.
Yeah. And I feel like, again, I don't want to harp about this, and we can talk more about this in tomorrow's post-game show, but Ian Frey would have been a lot more effective if he was the right back, and I feel like he would have been more effective than he was in the right centre-back role, and he would have been more effective than Cello was in the right-back role. So I just think overall Frey should have been playing in that right-back position to be more effective on the ball. But I thought he had a good game. There was this one tackle that he made, which was absolutely phenomenal. And Chicago fans were asking for a penalty. This was in the first half, but it was so well timed. He didn't stand out by any means, which was fine, but he had a really solid performance as well.
Yeah, and he did win a corner high up the field. On that play, he wins the corner. Julian Gressel. Julian Gressel takes the corner, or takes the corner. And I'm thinking, this is it. This is exactly what we talked about. Gressel gets his assist. Ian Frey gets his headed goal. And then he went for Jordi Alba sort of at the edge of the post, and it doesn't quite come off. But Peaches says Benteke and Arango, 2 penalties. Boanga has 7 penalties. Suarez, 0 penalties. So we all know who's the true Golden Boot winner. Yeah, but Peaches, I think Suarez could just take it all by himself, like penalties and all. because once Messi comes back, those two together playing off each other, it's going to be really, really beautiful.
You know,
Barca
the best part about Suarez and going for him as MVP is all it takes is one game for him to score like a hat trick and he'll be on top. He scores in big bunches when he scores, which is insane at his level as well.
I know, and part of me thinks he just needs to have one or two big games
Yeah,
as voting happens.
that's exactly what. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Barca Chief says MVP Suarez. Yeah, he's going for it.
Man of the match. Yeah.
So what's your biggest takeaway from this game? We went on the road. We beat a bad team. We talked about Chicago in the pregame. They're not a good team. They are tied for last in the East, tied for third to last in the MLS. Probably besides San Jose Earthquakes, Chicago Fire are the worst run organization. And so that rot has really settled in over the last couple of years. They don't have a great coaching staff. They can't attract a great coaching staff. They don't have a ton of talent. When they do bring in high quality players, it doesn't fit. It doesn't work. The culture's not good. And so they have to ship those players out at a huge loss. It is bad times in Chicago. And yet that's like the most MLS time to lose is when you're playing a team that you should beat 4-1. You end up losing. Inter Miami doesn't fall for that. They go on the road. They get a 4-1 victory. What is your biggest takeaway?
Biggest takeaway is this team can do exactly what it needs to do when it needs to do it. And we're a really good team. And as long as we perform up to our quality, nobody can beat us. The three at the back looked good for me for most parts of the game. There's a few issues with that, I think. There are a few gaps in there that we need to fix up. But I didn't mind it in the way that we had, especially with the personnel that we had on the pitch. Our defensive transition looked a lot better today. There was instances where I was like, okay, here we go again. And our players were running back and in position very quickly. And it just felt like we were a lot more stable. That one goal shouldn't have been a goal. I think Martinez could have defended that a little bit better with the cross. And unfortunate to concede that, and we could have come away with a clean sheet altogether. But overall, very professional performance, and we'll dissect it to more and more detail. But I really enjoyed it. Very enjoyable game.
Yeah, I think maybe Ian Frey probably has a little bit of blame because the runner kind of cuts right in front of him. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Busquets,
I was thinking whether it's Ian Frey, Sergio Busquets. I'm not sure who to blame on that, but you're right. He does cut over in front of Ian Frey.
We'll have to rewatch that one, but unfortunately, like it was 3-0 at that point, and it didn't feel like that was going to be a huge game-changing moment. I know the announcers tried to make it as, oh, we're only one moment away from this really being exciting, but it didn't feel like that moment was coming. SD says Frey and Martinez, solid defense, and Suarez was great. I have one more talking point I want to talk about, and I mentioned it earlier, but we never really controlled the game in terms of the flow of the game. I know we were the more dangerous team. I know we created the better chances. We were certainly the better team. We were certainly the team that was going to win this game, but we never just dominated the ball like we used to do when Messi was here. And even we have done this over the last couple months, just not in the last couple of weeks. This formation, this style that we're playing is a counter-attacking style. And when you have this level of a quality difference, it is, and I'm not complaining because we won 4-1. So it was, not.
Hey, you're allowed to complain, man.
No, I don't want it to be a complaint. I just am curious how this is all going to fit together 2 weeks from now when we play with Messi, because that was the entire goal when we had Messi, was just sit on the ball, kick it around, play a little tiki-taka until we can get Messi in a good space going forward, and then runners around him and guys finding good positions and Suarez getting open in the box, right? That was the game plan. And so then we were worried about getting hit in transition, but now that we've added Yannick Bright to the midfield and we've added David Martinez and we found a little bit more quality defensively with Busquets going back there and Toto Aviles continuing to step up in his game, and of course Martinez, it feels like you can go back to that high possession style of just, working the ball around, creating opportunities. But now you have the personnel to defend and transition in ways that we couldn't before. And yet that's not what we're doing, even though we have a huge talent advantage. That is curious to me. And I just wonder how this is all going to work when Messi comes back, because we're not
You
going
know
to play
what?
this style with Messi.
I don't think so. There could be one thing to say about that style. When we did play that, we looked good on the ball, but there were so many issues in the defensive transition, which you've already touched upon. We have a better defensive core now. We have a better CDM in the midfield. A part of me wonders whether Tata Martino has actually moved away from that possession style and has thought to himself, you know what, this team is more dangerous in a counter-attacking sense, and that's how I'm going to set them up, even when Messi comes back. Again, this is just speculation. I don't know how it's going to play out. But when you set up with three at the back with two midfielders, you're basically saying to your team, we're not going to play through the midfield and we're not going to control the game as such, because a lot of the control comes from the midfield itself. And I guess another aspect of that could be that Sergio Busquets being in the back line doesn't necessarily allow you to control the midfield as much as it does. Yes, you can still control the ball, but you're not going to do much with the ball if Sergio Busquets is sitting in the back. Yes, you can, but it's going to be a different style. It's not going to be the same style of football that you saw when Messi was here and the tiki-taka bit. This is just me thinking thinking out loud, trying to understand Tata's mindset here. But it's an interesting conversation, and one that maybe we can do in one of our midweek episodes to see how, this team is eventually going to evolve itself. But maybe Tata wants to use different sort of play styles against different oppositions. I'm not sure, man. It's all up in the air right now, and it'll be really interesting to see when Messi comes back. And honestly, I'm excited to see how it goes. At least we have 7 games to test it out.
Yeah, we see Tata, he tries something and then he lets it go for 5 games before he actually does it, makes any changes. So I don't know that 7 games is as long as we think it is, because it feels like any change he makes, he's going to stick with for a couple games. Gel says, I hope Tata starts to use Frey more moving forward. He seems to be more calm and composed, although he did pick up a yellow card. Yeah, the yellow card, kind of a weak one, especially at that point in the game. But of course, he's so much better going forward. And I mean, he's like when he gets going forward in the opposition half, he's like almost like an attacker with how calm and composed and clinical he is. So I agree with you. I want to see him start at right back on a regular basis. Finally, Cello didn't piss me off from Circus Fun. Yeah, he was solid.
You're not alone. He was good.
And the fact that we want to see Frey is, I think, makes the Cello conversation more frustrating. That first own goal started with Frey. Yeah, it did. Hey, Cello, maybe mid, but he's not the worst defender. Yeah, and listen, 3 months ago, we would have told you Cello was the most talented right back in Inter Miami history.
I did tell you.
The standard has changed so much for this club and especially when we see the little glimpses we do from Ian Frey, that's what makes.
And also, his drop off in form was quite appalling. It was bad. Like, he wasn't playing good.
No,
so
he had a bad league scope.
So he had a bad bit of a form, but I think he's back into playing well.
Bizrat says, yeah, they have to get. I can't read right now. They have to get cut down. They have to cut down on the yellow cards.
They have got to cut down on the yellow cards, though, Scotty.
Sorry. Appreciate it. Agree. We get a bit too many yellow cards. Yeah, and there was some that were just like frustration and silly. Pristo says, Frey is solid. He's a ball carrier. We need him more. Absolutely. Skrilla says, I can't believe we got dude, you might have to read these because my eyes are going.
All right. I'm going to read these and I'm going to take over. So Skrilla says, I can't believe it. We got Campana and Taylor chilling on the bench. Our roster is deep. I really like the ball from Campana, man. That was actually a really, really good unselfish play, and well done to him for bringing that out. Taylor with a great finish as well.
So not only did we have our starting 11 that we liked, right? We talked in the pregame. We liked the 11, right? We had Kramaski, David Ruiz, Campana, Taylor, guys like Noah Allen, Franco Negreira, and Christoph, true professionals, still on the bench. And oh, by the way, Matias Rojas and Lionel Messi are coming back for our next game. This is the deepest team in the MLS and, possibly the deepest team on paper in the history of this league.
I really hope, I think all Inter Miami fans just need to pray that we have all our players fit for the playoffs, because that's going to be a whole other experience if we have everybody fit. It's going to be so good.
Well, if Tata actually uses everyone else and people outside the 11. Peaches says, we looked better at defending and great for 70-odd minutes. It was a bit concerning that when Redondo and Gressel were subbed, the momentum kind of shifted, but apart from that goal, we managed to hold out for the win. Good job. But this is sort of goes back to my conversation. Like this point I keep coming back to is we never controlled the flow of the game in terms of possession. And so there's no reason that in the last 20 minutes when we're trying to kill off the game because we have a 3-0 lead that we would start then, because we were never set up to do it at any point during the game. And so it's not the subs' fault. It's that we were never really in control. And that breakthrough that kind of fluky goal where they put something together for 1 second or 30 seconds, that could have come at any point in the game because we were never just suffocating the game away with possession. So.
Yeah, and I want to rewatch to actually say how much we controlled the game, because at first watch it didn't seem like we controlled the game as much, or not the way we would want us to. And I think this goes back to the point of not that Inter Miami wasn't good in this game. I think that we played really good football. It's just that we want to now see whether we go back to that style of play that we played at the start when Messi was there. And it just feels like the closer it gets to Messi's return, the more confused we are about how we're going to mash those two play styles together. So just a point of thought. And I'm sure we're going to have some thoughts after we rewatch the game.
What, if I had to ask you right now, what do you think the possession numbers were?
I would say it was about 51-49.
50-50, according to
SofaScore.
Their number 19, Katsios, who was the goal scorer, scored like he just scored a game winner after that goal. Yeah.
Listen, man, Chicago is going through a little bit of a tough time. At this point, they would want any sort of, rally that they can bring their fans into. So I don't blame him for doing that.
They can still play the same style. Just Tata has to replace Gressel with Messi. Yeah, I don't think they can press high with Messi.
But we didn't press high in this game.
They did a little bit. It wasn't
a little bit, but it wasn't necessarily the same press that we saw against Columbus and Cincinnati. So.
But you can't do this because the problem with this style is you play through the wings. You played through Cello and you play through.
But when Messi comes through, you want to play centrally. So.
Right. So you want to play centrally with Messi. So you're not going to play this 3-4.
And again, I think it's more a question mark. We don't know how Messi is going to fit into it. For all we know, he's just going to slot straight into it and it's going to look absolutely phenomenal. But it's just a little bit of a, it's up in the air at this point in time.
So happy for Robert Taylor and Campana duo on the 4-1. Well done. Yeah, that was like the happiest moment, like the most feel good moment.
That's why when you asked me, what do you want to talk about? That felt like the moment I wanted to talk about because, two homegrown players doing what they're doing best. Amazing.
Houston is winning against LAFC so far.
Every time we put it in the chat, then the other team that we want to lose ends up winning. So.
It is currently the 32nd minute. Houston's got a 1-0 lead, and it's at LA though, so we'll see. Very unselfish of him, Campana. Lovely team effort when Campana really needed a goal as well. But that's just a good team move. Yeah, and the right decision. And when you're winning 3-1, it's so easy to just go for your own, stats and think about, but you gotta love it. And Robert Taylor, I think, needed probably a goal more than Campana, honestly. Yeah. Will Busquets get back to midfield when all the center backs are available? I missed his midfield composure. We're going to have this conversation. In our midweek episode, we're going to talk about reintegrating Messi, and part of that conversation is what does the rest of the team look like around Messi? And that is going to include talking about Busquets. Should he be as a center? Should he play as a center back? Should he play?
What? There was another thing that I was thinking why Tata Martino is choosing to play the 3 at the back. And I think part of it has to do with keeping Yannick Bright in the team. Now, that could be wishful thinking.
No, I believe you. I believe you.
But it could be a way of incorporating, because, yes, this game he didn't have Aviles, but when he did, he still played 3 at the back and kept Yannick Bright in. So,
can I ask you a question, though?
Yeah.
I know, I agree with you. I think that's exactly what it is in Tata's mind. But is it, in reality, actually keeping Redondo in the starting 11?
Yeah, potentially, yes.
Because even if you want to move Busquets back into the midfield, it shouldn't be for Yannick Bright. It should be for Redondo.
Yeah.
Or Grass, whoever the other midfielder is.
Do you think there's a universe, and this is just again speculating, there's a universe where Tata Martino goes back to putting Busquets in the midfield but keeps a back three with Frey, Aviles, and Martinez, or Allen, Martinez, and Aviles, and keeps this formation but with Busquets in the midfield?
I don't know, because it goes back to wanting to play centrally, and it goes back to wanting to have enough attackers. It goes back to whether you want to press or not. I think the ideal midfield for Inter Miami is Busquets, Bright, a double pivot, and Diego Gomez on top of them. I know we've seen Gomez a lot as a left winger. In fact, it's been a long time since we've seen him as a box-to-box. But once Messi comes back, you're not going to be pressing super high up the field anymore, which means you don't need Diego Gomez as a left winger for his high up the field pressing ability. You actually might want him more in the midfield, because imagine Gomez's ball winning ability next to Yannick Bright's ball winning ability, with Sergio Busquets in the midfield as the perfect connector between players and calm on the ball and everything. I mean, that I don't want to get too excited about it, but not putting it on the subs. We also changed formation to pretty much 10 at the back. Possession was 50-50. I think it was a bit of an experiment seeing out the game. Yeah, that's also true. And I didn't mention this, and maybe we can just skip over it for now and talk about it tomorrow. But we left Suarez on once we put on Ruiz and Kramaski. But then we went to a 5-4-1 where Suarez was, just like we talked about in the pregame show, just doing the dirty work up top. Like, there's no point in having Suarez if you're up 3-0 and you're putting 9 guys behind the ball at all times, and Suarez is just your like emergency save or release valve. Like, just take him off the field at that point. Saur projecting what he wants onto the team. The bright
always features always. I'm trying to manifest the perfect Inter Miami team, because I know Tata Martino's never going to pick it himself. So
yeah. Okay, guys, that is it for tonight. Please do us a favor and hit the like button. We will be back tomorrow for the full game recap. We'll rewatch the game. We'll go over all the big moments. We'll talk about who played well, why the tactics made or didn't make sense. And of course, we'll give out some awards. But until then, guys, thanks for being in the chat with us. Thanks for enjoying this win with us. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful night.